The Scythe hero stands in front of Naofumi, one of his hardest challenges to date, or at least that's what it seems at this moment. So when the fight begins, he begins to feel some pushback against this hero by the name of Lark. Lark begins to put Naofumi on the back foot because he wasn't sure what to expect. But now that Naofumi sees his entire kit and what he is made of, Naofumi knows exactly how to defeat him. Echo comes out of nowhere, jumping on Lark as his scythe begins to swing at Echo, basically ready to kill him. Naofumi hits the scythe straight up, allowing Raphtalia to cut her hand right through, well, Lark's chest. Immediately after this, Naofumi comes over to capitalize upon this, picking Lark up and flying him straight up into the air, and even Lark is beginning to freak out. Naofumi begins to slice his way into his stomach, and doing this, he injects him with something odd. This poison? Well, Naofumi has had various new skills, and this was one of them. He injects a poison into Lark as he comes crashing back down. This gives them the upper hand. This poison makes everything seem terrifying. Lark begins to look around and having to defend himself against various other monsters, at least that's what he thinks in his own head. Doing such a thing leaves multiple openings, and it allows them to basically defeat Lark with relative ease, and they're pressing the boot of their feet on his neck. Maybe not literally, but figuratively. Frankly, they have the fight won, and they begin to question Lark more and more, asking if he really thought that they would die to him. But on top of that, he really thought it would be that easy to kill them. Well, unfortunately, that's just wrong. Raphtalia walks over and proceeds to slice off the head of Lark as his body is just dead, gone. He gets kicked off of where they're currently standing, and Naofumi watches as his body crashes to the ground, picking up the head of Lark and walking it off to back toward, well, the main area of Shield Frieden, or the capital, hanging it up on a pole and sticking it into the ground, saying and telling them that these heroes, so-called heroes from another world, are here to kill them, kill the people here, and allow them to all die. But Naofumi won't allow that. Naofumi is going to make sure that all of them are protected. Everyone begins to cheer as they burn Lark's head at the stake. But during this time, Naofumi looks to his left, seeing that the wave is still going on in Melremark. He wonders what is even happening, but after another couple hours, the wave finally finishes up. But the news of something very, very bad will be coordinated to him. He flies over with Raphtalia and also Echo to where the queen is, hearing of what happened in Melremark, that the other three heroes, they were defeated, beat, extremely bad. Naofumi, hearing this, is shocked, but wants to know how the hell that even happened. But she just explains that she heard about another person coming from the wave. Naofumi explains exactly what he went through and that he killed another one that came through the wave. But the other heroes, they couldn't handle it at all. The queen shakes her head and says no, that they couldn't. But luckily for them, they're not dead. At least that's a plus. But the fact that they're down basically for the count, at least for the next week or so, that brings up a lot of problems for Melremark. And honestly, it makes it easier for the church to do something about it, to defeat and kill the other heroes if they so choose. Naofumi questions if they'd actually go about killing the other heroes. Would that even be the best idea and course of action? In which the queen says she doesn't even know. But Naofumi gets to the fact that he did say that he would help her. You're right, okay. So, I have a plan. You willing to hear it? She begins to say yes, and Naofumi says that she really is going to have to think about this one. It's your kingdom, Miss Queen. You need to protect it. I can give you the means to protect it. What do you say? How about it? The queen's confused and asks what he's talking about, and he says that she can join his party temporarily if she wants and accept the power of a vampire. that she can become a vampire herself and they can go over and defeat this little crisis. But she should be the one to finish it off. She is the queen of Melromark. Naofumi says this, and Melty, currently listening in, walks in and says that she doesn't feel like that's the best idea, but Naofumi says that her mother is extremely strong already. Being a vampire, let's just say, would make her untouchable. At least that's what it would feel like in terms of politics. She would just be able to go on for a while, forever, immortal. Naofumi does turn toward Melty and apologizes, saying that she would have to, or at least the queen would have to, make herself step down if she wanted to give Melty the spot. Because when she becomes a vampire, she will be immortal. And the queen doesn't even know what to say, but not sure if she should say yes. Just as they're debating this, Rautalia and Echo show up next to Naofumi, as they are both vampires, or at least part vampire, or Rautalia is, and Echo is kind of in an odd spot because he can't necessarily be a vampire. But Rautalia says that it has benefited her greatly and has given her new power and strength, and she can't imagine a queen, royalty, someone as strong as the queen, being able to basically unlock that type of strength, especially with her type of skills. And she reluctantly is just debating with it, but then realizes that is the best idea. The best idea is to become a vampire herself. Naofumi shakes her hand and reminds her that she needs to convince herself that she wants this. And she says that she does, saying it over and over in her head as Naofumi bites her on the neck, and she begins to basically form and change into a vampire without any repercussion. She's actually not hurting, not feeling bad, nothing. She's fine. She convinced herself that she needs this and believes it, in fact, that she does. Melty watches on as her mother grows these small fangs, or small sharp teeth, and her power raises immensely. She looks at Naofumi and nods, saying that she's ready to go fight for her country and end this right now. And Naofumi says that's a great idea, and teaches exactly how to change into a different form, aka a bat form, and they fly off to where the Pope currently is. When they arrive, they begin to hear the Pope commissioning a plan, talking about a plan to kill the other three heroes. The fact is, they're wounded, hurt. It would be easy now to basically just take them all down. So that's exactly what he wants to do. As the queen hears this, they perch up on a ledge, and they all three are just appeared right in front of the Pope. Echo appears on another ledge to the side and begins to just howl in complete unison, and they begin to say that the tyranny that the Pope wants to hold is now over, that his little rule and little stunt is not going to go unnoticed. The queen appears in front of him, putting her hand on his throat and releasing such a crazy aura that it terrifies the Pope. She slams him to the ground, and his followers try to help, but no. Well, there's wolves after wolves, these hounds all around the area that are stopping all the followers from even helping. That's exactly what Echo did, and Naofumi and Rautalia are doing the same thing, stopping anything that would stop the queen from finishing the job. They all leave the little church house, or the capital of the church, and they just hear one loud smack and a crunch, and the body of the Pope gets dragged out not too long after. Everybody is shocked, in complete shock. Everybody. And obviously his followers are terrified at the fact that the Pope is dead, and they begin to get rounded up by all the knights. But when the news spreads that the Pope and everything was taken down, let's just say the king and Malty were shocked to hear that their mother did this with a traitor, with a monster. But the queen says otherwise, hearing of exactly what happened, and that Malty and also the king were in little cahoots with the church themselves. And now that is treason, a serious problem. She begins to tell them that they have one choice, or two. In fact, they can die, or they can get stripped of their titles, and they'll go on with more punishments as they go along, in which they feel that this is unfair, but the queen cuts them off once again and says that you abandoned one of the heroes, someone that could have helped us. Now we have 3 other heroes that are dead weights and are on basically death's door. 1 week of recovery? They're supposed to be legendary cardinal heroes. And that's it. That's the matter of the fact at hand. The queen, finally back in her kingdom, tells everybody in the kingdom about all of that, what happened, about the 3 heroes church, about Naofumi, and about the other 3 heroes being hurt extremely bad, and that the king and also the princess, or the oldest princess, were practically at fault. That these 2 have started something they didn't know that was going to backfire so hard on them, like that they wouldn't have done in the first place. But they're no longer royalty. The queen then announces something else, that Naofumi will be allowed in Melromark without crucifixion, that he will not be looked down on, that he can enter whenever he wants, and he will even be given royalty status. In which Naofumi says that he doesn't even want that, but she says that it's only right, that he will make everything better. Being royalty here and then being able to help other countries is something that the queen normally kind of does, going out to other countries, speaking on different affairs, but Naofumi can do that now. Naofumi has a means of traveling way faster than her, has basically the means of power with Rautalia and Echo, and it'll just be a lot more beneficial. Naofumi nods and says that's a good idea, but there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up. Frankly, at the end of the day, there's a lot that is wrong with Melromark, and it starts with the 3 heroes. And the queen agrees, saying that they're going to shut everything down that is corrupt, and it will start with the 3 heroes. Right when they wake up, that's exactly what they'll do. A week of recovery passes, and the 3 heroes are called to be spoken to the queen. The queen sits there, and they even notice the appearance change. She looks stronger, but more fierce. Her eyes have a different tint, this red tint to them, and she begins to say that there's a little problem. That they have with one of the other heroes, in which they deny that there's another hero, but Naofumi begins to float down in a bat form, sitting down right next to the queen, as they begin to say that he cannot be here, that he is, but she cuts them off, explaining everything that just happened while they were out, and explaining that Naofumi took down one of those people, just like Glass, but took down a man by the name of Lark, and took him down by himself. Naofumi is that much stronger than them 3 heroes, but they refuse to believe it. They believe that he's somehow cheating, somehow doing something outlandish, but the queen says otherwise. The queen begins to explain that they were basically going to die if they didn't do something about the church. Naofumi saved their lives, so they have to be grateful for that. The queen makes this very apparent, saying that they will not be getting support if they don't take in Naofumi as one of the heroes. If they continue to act as if Naofumi isn't a hero himself, then there will be serious problems and serious repercussions. Frankly, yeah, maybe she can't physically kill them, maybe she can't, but still at the end of the day, there's going to be major problems if they don't accept Naofumi. They've been getting spoon-fed this information that Naofumi is so bad and now they have someone to hate, but now they're getting this information that he's a good person, that he's been helping others. Where's the proof of that? Just as they say this though, 2 noblemen from other countries enter the area. They enter the domain inside the castle and begin explaining exactly what Naofumi's been doing, protecting Siltvelt and Schildfrieden. After hearing this, they are kind of shocked, hearing of these other countries and the fact that they didn't even know about them, but they finally realize what's going on. Even though their judgment is still clouded, they do realize they're kind of their error in their ways. Not entirely, but sort of. So they say that they will treat Naofumi with the most respect they possibly can and treat him as if he was a hero or is a hero. The queen says that is all she asks, and that it's good that they're going to treat him in such a way. So after all of that is done and settled, Naofumi begins to say that he needs to head off. He has some business to attend to, and that Raphtalia has some business to attend to as well. She looks at him and nods as she appears into a bad form and flies off as well. They ask where she's going, and he says that this whole little slave market thing kind of put a bad taste in her mouth, and that she knows exactly where it starts and she wants to end it herself. So I decided to let her go do that. They're shocked to hear this. Is she that strong that she can do something like that? Naofumi nods and says that she's extremely strong, and so is the queen. Maybe they should spar the queen and see how far behind they are. They're shocked to hear this. Far behind? There's no way. But what they don't realize is that Naofumi kind of adding the queen to his party, but also giving her the means of being kind of like a vampire, it makes her that much stronger. She's extremely strong. She would actually be able to keep up with one of the heroes, especially because the heroes they're kind of weak, frankly. But they do realize that they need to get stronger, and that's what they'll be doing over this course of time. But in the meantime, Naofumi has some business to deal with and begins to head off and deal with that said business. He begins to speak with the other countries about various things and about helping other countries out as well. But here's the thing, that gets shut down pretty quickly because there's something that gets revealed by the queen and a very, very, very good opportunity. And that is leveling up at a fast and rapid rate. He hears about the Calmere Archipelago events and actually decides that he's going to head off. But he wants to get Raphtalia back so that they can all level up together. He basically reaches out to her telepathically, and she says that she handled the business that she wanted to get through and is heading back right now. As Naofumi begins to leave, someone then appears in front of him. Well, who are you? I am Vittoria, the queen of the Philolials, or the Philolial queen. I'd actually like to speak with you, Mr. Hero. Naofumi shrugs and says that he doesn't have much time, but he doesn't mind talking at all, and begins speaking with her. She begins explaining various things. She begins explaining that there's a big disconnect in terms of the heroes. If one of them dies, it will make all the waves extremely strong. And not only that, all of them need to work together if they want to defeat the waves. She does recognize how strong Naofumi is, but that doesn't matter. There will be a cliff to climb, and they need all of the heroes on board to climb that cliff. Naofumi kind of tells her that he's trying to do such a thing. At the end of the day, he's the one that got abandoned, and she tells him that's why he could be the one to make them all connect. He nods and basically asks her one last thing before he leaves, because he needs to, he's in crunch time at this point. He asks for a spar, and she says that she won't mind doing that at all, entering her human form as they begin to fight. But it's kind of crazy how strong she is. But Naofumi seems to be developing more and more throughout the fights, getting stronger and stronger. He just wants to land one crucial blow on her to see if he can actually withstand an attack from her. But it feels like she's not even trying. Like she's not even full power. Of course, Naofumi has some aspects of his kit that he can actually defend against her and stuff like that, but he definitely feels the power difference and even questions how she's so strong. But she says that she's been here a long time. But Naofumi, he is far stronger than she even expected. Way stronger. Naofumi takes the compliment, but kind of doesn't even know what to say to it. At the end of the day, he still lost the fight, but she explains how long she's been leveling up and training, and that's why she is so powerful, and that soon him and his party will be that powerful. He even asks her that maybe she would become even more powerful if she became like him. She would be immortal. But she says that that's not something she's necessarily interested in at the moment, but maybe in the near future if it comes to that. Naofumi nods and begins to leave, turning into his bat form, but before he leaves, Vittoria says that she will transport him to Kalmyra, and she'll also transport his little friends or his party members. Doing such a thing, they arrive before the boat even does, and they're in Kalmyra ready for a really good leveling up session. Now that they're leveling up, training hard, and getting as many levels as possible, Naofumi and his party have skyrocketed in terms of leveling and have skyrocketed in terms of power. They are on a whole different level, especially because they got there even before the other heroes did. Luckily, the other heroes are training as well, but at the end of the day, how strong are they? How strong will they truly be? Well, let's just say strong enough to defeat this wave that is about to arrive in Kalmyra. Unfortunately, Naofumi doesn't even know about it, but when it occurs, he's far strong enough to handle it. So when it arrives, all of the monsters in the ocean begin to try and kill people on land, but Naofumi's able to fly around or just go around with Raphtalia and also Echo, defeating them with relative ease. But just as the main boss is about to try and chomp down multiple buildings, some of the other heroes strike it down and are actually able to kill it. It seems like the queen and her new attitude toward this has kind of whipped them into shape. He actually looks toward the ocean or the water to see that the queen is actually just arriving, and that she has a smile on her face seeing that the other heroes are actually keeping up, or sort of keeping up. They're not extremely strong, they're not insanely strong like Naofumi is, but they actually have gained some decent experience, especially with the tips that they actually took from the queen. Especially with their kind of stupidity, they finally listened after a little bit, so let's just say they're just strong enough to defeat the boss together. But after defeating the boss, it's over. Nothing else arrives. Naofumi questions himself and asks if someone else actually did come out of the wave all that time ago when they were extremely hurt. They nod and say that they really wanted to fight her once again to see what kind of level they're at, but it seems like there's no arrival of glass. But what they don't know is that there is another person, and that's why the wave hasn't fully closed yet. A beam of light, something that is so piercing and going to have an after effect, strikes Naofumi right through the heart. This holy-like beam came from a gem that was specially crafted to defeat him. It pierces his heart, and he can feel himself drifting off. He turns to his left on a rooftop as he sees a woman running away as fast as possible, jumping back into the wave. He begins to slowly but surely try and to regenerate, but it feels like he can't regenerate. He feels like he's slipping. He's slipping. He's going to lose his life to this. A holy what? A holy beam? He doesn't know, but he begins to focus more and more, trying to heal himself, but it seems like there's nothing to it. It seems like he can't. Is he no longer immortal? What is even happening? Why can't he? Raphtalia runs over and tells him to bite into her neck right now, or something, and he's confused but remembers exactly what she's talking about. Frankly, he can take the blood of someone else, but with Raphtalia being part of his party, maybe it's more potent, maybe it will reenact his healing. He does such a thing, and his eyes begin to glow darker and darker red as he does just that. And he sees that his wound is slowly closing, and his breath and his breathing is slowly but surely coming back. He's psyched at the fact that he's not, frankly, dead, but that is a problem. It seems like there's some people around, or at least there was, that were trying to take him out, knowing who the threat was. Raphtalia says that she saw the woman, and it must have been one of Glass's or Lark's teammates, that they're going to definitely be a problem in the future. Echo helps Naofumi up, and they kind of struggle him to his feet because he is still kind of hurting. The queen helps them off and heads them back to Melremark for him to recover. But during this time, the recovery goes pretty well, but Naofumi also gets a little surprised. Frankly, he kind of needed it after getting struck like that and being kind of on death's door there, and he gets a surprise with something that Raphtalia will like as well. it seems that he has the deed, or basically is now the lord, of Raphtalia's old village. A village that may need some work, but a village that can definitely be a home base in Melromark. A real home base in Melromark. He still doesn't feel like, let's just say, royalty. He's far from it, and he's never going to be like it, but it's nice to have somewhere that he can call home, somewhere that he can recover, and somewhere that he can come back to and realize what's going on in this new world. But his goal now is to figure out these people. What are their plans now that one of their own is dead? Do they plan on just trying to kill Naofumi to finish things up, or even things out? Have they become more vengeful in that regard, or what is it? Naofumi's not sure, but that's just a story for another time. So if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, sub, comment down below, and leave any suggestions you got for future what ifs. And I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.
I don't wanna waste what's left.